What's up, everybody? This is Bems.
And this is Ace, and we are on episode 17 of Serving Up the Tea. Welcome back, guys.
Is this episode 17?
Yeah, we made it here.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun.
Who'd have thought?
Okay. Well, in episode 17, we have some Matchpoint Musings. We're obviously going to do our dreams, nightmares, and realities for the Monte Carlo Masters 1000. We have just a tiny bit of Doubles Trouble, bit of Court Couture. We're going to step into the player's box. There's some Brand Slam news. There's always some Networthy news.
Yeah, basically a little bit of everything on this episode.
Bits and bobs all over. But first, Ace, what's tea?
Oh, I was just about to ask you what's tea. Well, my tea's from a few weeks ago, and I feel like the past 2 weeks have felt like a lot of tennis has happened, but I'm still reeling from the difficulty of trying to keep up with the Miami Open because, first of all, the men and women were on different schedules. And then second of all, with all the rain delays, you had fourth round being played with a quarterfinal, being played with a semifinal. Like, it was so confusing.
Yeah, the rain delays did not help at all.
Yeah, and I don't think I ever appreciated like a good tournament schedule more than I did trying to watch Miami.
And that definitely sucks for you because you're usually a highlights person. So the one time you try to watch it live and it's
I was like, let me use my DSTV access. And it was the worst because, yeah, the rain delays were long and they were like cutting matches off. And then you had some players having super late matches past midnight and then having to wake up and play a day session. I want to know who's responsible. We need to know who's responsible.
I'm glad you said that because James Blake, the tournament director, if I see him, it's on site. Like
on site.
They owe Arthur Fils an apology, like a public one, maybe in writing, because what they did to that boy was criminal. He played like a grueling 3-set war on a Wednesday, and then less than 24 hours later, they had him first on the court for his quarterfinal. And it's like Djokovic's match was supposed to be the night match the night before, but because of rain, because of the time, it wasn't even rain. They were going to get on too late. It was just too late,
yeah.
And they would have pushed it. So instead of them starting the day with the match that was supposed to be the night before, they put Fils on, and he was very obviously like mentally and physically drained. And he said so. He was like,
it's
other players hadn't played in 2 days. He was back out there like it was nothing. I felt like it was disrespectful. Like, I don't know what went into that like thought process, but like Djokovic not being the first match when he was supposed to be on the night before was very ridiculous. And I mean, listen, he still tried, he still fought, he lost, but like I think he's like taking it positively. He made quarterfinals in back-to-back Masters 1000s.
1000s, yeah.
But James Blake, nah.
Yeah, I think anyway, Arthur handled it well. He definitely tried his best, and I knew he was going for more than he achieved at Indian Wells. So it was tough to see because it definitely affected his outcome.
Because he had great momentum. And like the way he beat up on Zverev, like I felt like Morgs when she posted when your man wins for the girls. I was
definitely
like,
for the girls. And I didn't know what was going to happen there because, sometimes when you're facing Zverev, it's like unpredictable. But very happy with that result.
I had faith only because he beat him in his home tournament in Hamburg. So I knew that like at least mentally he could get past it. I just didn't know if he was going to have the energy for it because he had just played Tiafoe as well. And that was a very grueling match.
That match was crazy.
It was really good.
It was really good. And I can't say that I wanted both players to win because I didn't. I was definitely there for Fils. So happy he came through with the win. But it was so topsy-turvy. 1 set each, and then the last set was so, like, crazy. And they both had, like, moments of being extremely frustrated in that match.
Yeah. I enjoyed all of Fils' matches except for the Menchik one because I just saw him so clearly running out of steam. Because think about it, like, being the first on court like at 12 or 1 or 11, whenever it is, means that you're up so many hours early because they do so much like warm up beforehand. You know what I mean? Like
so much warm up just to get to that stadium seems like it's literally long.
It's not even like you and I who like we're gonna play tennis at 8 and we wake up at like 7:45 and just rock up to the court.
I think 7:45 is more honest than 7:30. But anyway, Bams, what's tea?
Ooh. All right, Ace, I'm going to go ahead and give you a disclaimer here that everything I say next are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. So if I'm getting canceled, I'm not going to take you down with me.
Okay, great. Scared. But let's address it.
Martina Navratilova, I'm
Off
ready
her
for
rocket.
her.
She's
Listen,
crazy.
she's a legend. I get it. But being a tennis icon absolutely does not give you a pass to be just moving mad. First of all, let's start with her commentary. It is consistently out of touch. It's always some variation of back in my day. Like, girl, it's not your day anymore. It's actually 2025. And if we're honest, in her day, they were playing with wooden rackets and it sucked. Like, let's call a spade a spade. When I see those like highlights of them and those damn wooden rackets, I'm just like, cut this off. Like, please.
She just gives bitter. I'm looking at a picture of her right now, and the comments match her face.
Well, yeah.
Bitter. But yeah.
And it's not just the annoying old school takes. It's also like how she talks about women constantly picking about their bodies. It's harsh in a way that feels personal. Like you're saying bitter. It's not analytical. And the worst part, I feel, obviously as a woman of color, I think I'd be more sensitive. So maybe, you know, I'm biased here, but I do feel like oftentimes it's especially towards women of color. And then we have to talk about the transphobia. I do understand that trans people competing in sports is a nuanced and complicated topic, and I don't expect everyone to have the right answer or be on the same side of things, but she moves beyond that to just straight up transphobia.
Just hateful comments, man.
She literally, like, she's positioned herself as some sort of gatekeeper of quote unquote real womanhood, and she's like aligned with these sort of talking points that I feel are like just very dangerous. And it's not only about trans athletes, by the way, because remember how she went after the Algerian cisgender woman, Iman Khalif, the boxer, because she didn't fit into her idea of what a female
of what a
athlete should
woman
look
looks like.
Yeah, like she won gold, was named one of the top female athletes of the year by the AP, and Martina would not stop with this campaign against her, even when it was proven that she's a woman. She was just like, oh, well, she went off the information she had at the time. Like, imagine being a cis woman, training your whole life, winning gold, and still being accused of not being woman enough. Like, and it doesn't just harm trans athletes, it reinforces this arbitrary policing of all women's bodies. And then she also made some really unnecessary comments about Naomi Osaka's body. She's talking about her frame looks heavy and her movement isn't what it was before pregnancy. And listen, okay, she said like one or two positive things. But once you go there, it kind of overshadows everything else you say. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's like you're coming from the wrong place.
Yeah, we talk a lot about women supporting women, especially in tennis. And I feel like Navratilova is really not on that type of time. Like,
she's an op. Straight
she
up.
is an op. She's an op.
She's an op.
She's an
and
op.
they need to get her out the booth. I don't know why I need to be looking at a global broadcast of a tennis match and hear her voice.
Yeah,
it's not
and like,
necessary in 2025. So somebody
she
needs
could
to
be
fix
using her
that.
platform to uplift, to evolve with the game, to support the next generation. She's just like clinging to the past and like low-key making the sport feel smaller when it should be growing.
I would say her commentary is actually approaching dangerous levels. Like, well, these are harmful statements that she's making. And so I think there is a strong case for her to be taken off the air as like a leading voice in tennis.
I 1,000% agree with you. So yeah, that's tea for me, girl.
Yeah. That one had to be said. I don't think I disagree with you on that. Should we get into some Matchpoint musings?
I believe that we should, girl. I mean, like you said, the 2 weeks that have just passed have felt like
so
an
much
eternity.
Tennis.
But let's talk about Miami because we got to do it.
But wait, hold on. I would say this was a time where I felt like the men's and women's schedules were so different. The men kind of had like only 250s for the past few weeks, whereas the women had like a 500, a 250, a bunch of 125s. But then in next on tour, we'll see that the men have such a packed April with 2 1000s and 2 500s. And then the women only have 1 1000, 1 500, and a 250. Yeah. So it's been like an interesting like time to watch both sides, both tours, because there are completely different levels right now. But yeah, Miami Masters 1000 for both men and women. Let's go.
We can't talk about Miami without talking about Iala. We
She
spoke
really
about
broke
her
through
a bit on our last episode, but what on earth? First of all, she looks so young, right? She looks like she literally just finished her SATs and came to Miami for vibes.
She looks like she has like 1,000 words on her mind at any given point in time for that like part of the test.
Literally. But somehow she walked away with wins over Madison Keys, Yelena Ostapenko, and Iga Swiatek, 3 Grand Slam champs.
And big hitters. We have to talk about how big she was hitting.
Yes, and it's wild because there was absolutely no indication that this was coming. Like none. She just been floating around, no hot streak, no deep 250 run. She just showed up with like her 1,000th wild card in a dream.
Yeah, I mean, she left it all on the court. And it was some really good moments because I think she never knew when it was going to end. And so watching that with each post-court interview, like how she would react, it was like when she beat Iga, she was at the point of like straight up disbelief. She couldn't believe
herself. Yeah.
I think she was definitely playing point by point. So when match point came and it passed and she won, she didn't know what was going on.
She gagged herself, honey.
But also, word on the street is that she's also a new Nepo baby on tour, which Nepo baby, is that really a thing in tennis? I don't know, but she's a $1 billion baby, apparently.
No, not billion, but her parents are well off.
You have to be living at the Nadal Academy.
Exactly, right?
Like, let's be honest.
I think her mom worked for like a telecom. There's some like connection, like they're well connected and affluent family, but I don't think it's on the level of like Navarro or Pegula or Fonseca. Yeah, no.
Oh, Fonseca was another one that they said. Oh, yeah, that's the tea on those tennis Twitter.
Billy boys. But yeah, she is the first Filipina to beat a top 10 player, top 5 now. Because Iga is what? Yeah, actually a top 5 player because Iga is number 2. First to go this deep at a WTA 1000. She shot up in the rankings from 140 to 73. Like she was just like, hi, yes, put me in the main draw. I'm in my main draw era now.
And things are only gonna look up for her because now she can skip this whole qualifying nonsense, get straight to it.
I mean, to be fair, she was playing on a wild card, but yeah. And this is the thing about tennis, like anybody can become the main character at any time. Like
literally
anytime.
If you switch on at the right time.
We have to talk about her serve. It's like criminally unserious. Like Iga's second serve was faster than Iala's first serve in their match. Like,
which goes to show how big she was hitting in the rallies because the serve really wasn't saying much.
I think her being a left-handed player threw people off because honestly, even as somebody watching on TV, I could never tell where her ball was going.
Yeah.
She also had this sort of swinging volley overhead smash that like... It was so weird. I didn't understand the technique, but it worked like every time. It was crazy. But yeah, her serve, like no pace, no kick, nothing scary, but it worked on Madison, Ostapenko, and Swiatek. Like very iconic, if you ask me.
Very iconic. But yeah, everyone was like, she needs to up that because it's not going to last. People are going to get used to it. People are going to, analyze her game. It's not going to work.
Did you notice her return position as well? She was like, almost at the service line. She was so far in the baseline. I was like,
inside
girl.
The court. She was really returning super aggressively, and I think that's what led to her making it so far. Everything except for the serve was aggressive.
Yeah. Her match that I enjoyed the most was the one against Pegula. Really good rallies, insane angles, a lot of variety. I mean, the Iga match was great, but I really, really enjoyed the Pegula match.
I did too.
Like you didn't know who was going to win until the very last point.
You didn't know, but then also it was like, okay, Pegula is really like that girl right now. And this kind of solidified that because, Iala had taken out everyone up until now.
Yeah.
And then Pegula was like, wrong one. Not me. Speaking of like the scheduling, there was like a crazy delay for the Monfils and Korda match. Do you remember?
When the court was sweating? That was ridiculous.
So basically the center court is on top of the turf, which is like a super high-tech turf that has multiple layers. And they said that basically from the rain, the moisture was just seeping up into the court. So they couldn't play.
Yeah, even like when the court itself was like dry, technically, because it wasn't raining anymore, it was still coming up from the grass.
I mean, anyone who's lived in Miami tells you the rain starts at 3 p.m. Exactly. Like clockwork. Every afternoon. That's when rain comes on super heavy. So in this case, maybe, yeah, they need to be selling tickets for 10 a.m. so that you have all day to like have your delays and make it through some matches before it's midnight.
Yeah. Because matches were just too late.
Some of them were super late. So I mean, it added to like the vibe of like the Joao Fonseca, his final match against Demonor. When I say final, I mean that was his last time playing the tournament.
The final match that he played.
Yeah. Because I was late in the night. It just felt so dramatic.
I honestly really enjoyed it. Like, I know that some people had some complaints about it. I saw some like very dog whistle comments about it being like this is like a football match. This is like a soccer match, whatever.
Okay, stuffy.
But I thought it was great. I think that like people go to sports games, sports events to cheer, to get into it, to feel the vibe.
And to be part of the community cheering for, their countrymen.
Yeah. And so I think like even like how the Brazilian fans showed up for Sabalenka. I don't know if it's because her man is from there or what the situation is, but they love her in Brazil.
Tennis is going global. Let's say that.
Yeah. The match between Demonor and Fonseca was the most watched ever tennis match on Brazil's ESPN.
It was a great match.
I believed that Fonseca was going to be able to pull it out, but...
I thought so too, but I also think that his style of play is not sustainable.
Someone said to me that he's trying to reheat Carlos's nachos.
I mean, he kind of is, but like also, okay.
But
it's like this new young hot boy style of play, and eventually like your arm is going to fall off.
He's not as endearing as Carlitos is, though. I have to say that.
You think so? I think he's so cute, adorable.
I haven't connected with him yet. But speaking of adorable and cute, and the girl we love, Anisimova and Andreeva. So we talked about this already a bit on our Twitter and on our Instagram. But the drama between them was so funny to me because, first of all, why was Andreeva saying, "We know why. Everyone knows why. We know why"? I was like,
she was crashing out, and it actually made no sense.
For those who haven't seen, I'm sorry, this was so funny to me. Anisimova calls a medical timeout right in the middle of Mira's service game. She says she couldn't play anymore because of a blister. That was obviously a bit unusual. Normally, there's a time and place for you to do a medical timeout or to receive any treatment. But there is a rule that if you are actively bleeding or if you can actually physically no longer continue, you have a right to stop. So she did. And she got her finger taped up. And Mira was not having it. She was furious. She was saying to the chair umpire, "We all know why. We all know why." People were debating whether it was gamesmanship or if it was legit.
I think it was legit. And I think Andrea was on such a high from, the success that she's had. And the pressure was on her. So she kind of crashed out.
I mean...
Do you think Anisimova should have called it at a different time?
No. I mean, it was apparent that she could actually not physically hold the racket because of the placement of the blister.
Yeah, it was like an open wound at that point.
But also, like, I don't really get the gamesmanship claims because she had the momentum. Stopping actually risked messing up her rhythm more than helping her. Sometimes a medical timeout is just a medical timeout. And I think that, again, I have to call out Iga Świątek here because I think because of her gamesmanship on the WTA,
everybody's on high alert. They're on high alert. Are we playing a match or a game? Tell me. It's like, literally. No, but Andreeva, it was giving, okay, teenager. We see you teenaging.
And then Anisimova stooped down to her teenage level and posted a picture of her injury. And it just so happened to be on her middle finger. So she was basically also giving the middle finger in the most poetic way possible. Was it petty? Maybe. But it was... also absolutely iconic in my opinion.
It was needed too because she couldn't let that like narrative run.
But
like,
then
she had
also,
an open blister on her hand. Mm-hmm.
After the match, this is not funny at all. Mira posted an Instagram story showing all the hate she received. It was brutal. Like had been playing like incredible weeks of tennis, and people, I guess it's mostly like the betters,
They lose their shit if things don't go their way.
they were flooding her with disgusting messages. She ended up deleting it, but it's just another reminder of like how wild the pressure is, especially for young players. Like, is that what she gets for losing one match after going on the run that she went on? And the thing is, it's honestly not just a Mira problem. It's happening across the sport. Players win, they're heroes, they lose, and they're getting DMs full of abuse. Like, several players have spoken against this, and a lot of it is tied to betting. And the lines between fan and gambler are very blurred, and the tours are obviously loving the betting sponsorships, but I don't know if they're doing enough to protect the players who are dealing with the fallout, especially like the younger ones. Like, if a 17-year-old is expected to carry herself like a pro, then I think the tours need to act like pros too, and you know, kind of get ahead of this, because she should absolutely not be dealing with that, especially considering the form. Like, even if she's lost every match she's played this year, she doesn't deserve that. But I think it's even more insane when she's been quite literally on fire
and carrying the vibes of the WTA.
One bad match, and then she deserves to die, and they're going to hunt down her family and all sorts of crazy stuff they were saying. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely some guidelines needed to help the players like deal with that. I don't know if they can completely stop these messages coming, because of course the players are handling their own social media. So that's out of the, you know, the control of the WTA itself. But I feel like Andreeva shouldn't even be opening those messages. Like, but that's up to her and her team.
Our good sister Naomi lost to Jasmine Paolini. And afterwards, she says something like, I didn't know she could hit like that. I'm sorry.
Naomi, please.
Are we not watching tape, scouting?
Have we not seen like Paolini's last year run, making to 2 Grand Slam finals? Like, what? I think people do underestimate how the balls are going to come from Paolini because of her height. Like,
She's so small.
Not something
that
you can imagine happening.
That is
like, because it's not something you can tell from tapes, really. It's like when you get to the net and then you realize, wait, I can't see her. You're confused because where is the ball coming from? I genuinely think that's what it is.
No, like Naomi literally said, she's so small.
Yeah.
But her vibe after the loss was actually really refreshing. She was like in great spirits. She said she was proud of how she played after Indian Wells, and even told herself like, my life is pretty great, which honestly I love to hear. Like, I think she seems way more centered mentally than she has in a while.
Yeah.
But also,
we need you to win.
Let's talk about that return game, okay? She had chance after chance to break in sets 2 and 3, and she just like couldn't convert. I think she was like way too passive. But anyway, she's heading into I think she's playing Madrid next. I don't think she's playing Stuttgart. So we'll see if like, and again, remember she had that like amazing match against Swiatek at Roland Garros last year, and she said it inspired her.
Where she had a match point.
Where she thinks that she can. So remember, she didn't know she had match point.
I was like, point by point, to what end?
Literally, to what end? But let's see if like the clay kind of forces her to engage in the rallies a bit more, and kind of converting some of those break points, because she's gonna have to, obviously.
And this was also her second year of her like accepting that, not accepting, but like realizing that she can be an all court player.
Yeah.
And approaching her game in that way. Yeah. So I'm excited to see.
You've said this for a while though, even before she said it. I think you said that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see with that new mindset how this season goes for her on the clay.
Paolini went on to face Sabalenka, who ended up being the winner. They've played in the semifinals. Paolini hit 19 winners and only had 9 unforced errors, and she still lost 6-2, 6-2. Like,
I just actually don't understand. What do you have to do to win?
Like, and also speaking of Sabalenka, you know, she beat Pegula in the final. And at this point, they're low-key like the default setting for the big North American finals, because every major one in the last year has featured at least one of them, usually both of them. But also it makes sense because like they both made themselves pretty much unavoidable on that surface. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Pegula, and I think Anisimova said this. No, not Anisimova. Sophia Kenin said this ahead of their Charleston final. She was like, Pegula's not the same player that she was like 5 years ago. She's different. And yeah, she's like in 4 finals this year alone. It's crazy.
And that's the thing, like, we get a lot of oh, you know, she's a billionaire's kid, or oh, da 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 da. But like, Pagula puts
She
in
be
the
playing.
work. She flies her co-players on her jet so they can make the next tournament. She like, I think she's the best kind of billionaire. I understand that we're in our eat the rich era. I get it. I feel you. Billionaires are not doing right by the rest of the world. They're not behaving kindly to us. But as far as Pagula goes, I feel like she has time and time again shown that she's willing to put in the work. She doesn't think she's above anything. And she's really just like she's an all around like really good girl. I really quite like Jess. And I've been saying this since last year. So,
and she deserves to beat Sabalenka in at least one final. So I hope that happens in the near future. Because Sabalenka is about to become her mommy by like Ben Shelton.
Per Ben Shelton.
Standards. Yeah.
Per Ben Shelton's metrics. That is so funny. So we spoke about the women's side of Miami. Let's talk about
the men's. Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, did Djokovic lose that final on purpose?
Oh my God. We haven't even spoken about this, and I have been thinking this for like days.
Weeks.
No, Ace, since Djokovic won, I was like, this is hella suspicious though. Like, this is
because
suspicious, though.
Injury and this and all this stuff aside, if Djokovic wasn't feeling well, he had a sty on his eye. Y'all know he could win regardless. He's done crazier things before and come back from crazier vibes to win finals.
Anyway, Jakob Menchik won, and he celebrated like a real one. He immediately went to go and see 50 Cent live. A cultural choice. I respect it.
Was it at Live Miami?
Yes. Yeah.
So he went to the right place.
Yeah, he knew what time it was.
He seems to love Miami. He loves like the lifestyle. He's posing on like 8th Street on South Beach.
But then he posted a photo with Jake Paul, and the internet dragged him by the neck immediately. Because
he doesn't seem to be like out of his little white boy bubble yet. I don't think he knows what's going on in the world.
Is out here standing Jake Paul. I mean, he deleted the photo, but then he posted it again.
It was very awkward. I didn't know what was going on.
But I will give him this. He is very, very good at manifesting. In 2024, his goal was to crack the top 100, and he had done that by February. In 2025, his goal was to break into the top 30, and he's done that, and it's only March. Well, it was only March when he did it. It's now April. He might need a little help picking who he's going to pose with, but when it comes to his performances, I would say he's ahead of schedule. Okay, he knows what he's doing.
He's ahead of schedule, and people, especially Djokovic, was also pushing this narrative that like Jacob Menchik is who we think João Fonseca is, in terms of like he's the youngin who's like really running up the rankings.
Did he say that with his mouth?
No, that's me paraphrasing the insinuation that he made. That like, yeah, people are talking about João Fonseca a lot, but no, Djokovic doesn't have that kind of those bars. Anyway, Djokovic was saying how like there's a lot of hype around João Fonseca, but Jacob is also like 19-year-old who's doing big things in tennis.
Oh no, wait, so Djokovic actually said Fonseca's name?
Yes. But he didn't say it in a negative way. He kept it diplomatic.
It was like, it wasn't a but, it was an also.
Yeah, it was an also. But we all know that it's a but.
It's a but, Loki, yeah.
It's a but. It's coming from a place that, we have an Eastern European, he's not getting hype. But it's also like Brazil. Have you seen the size of Brazil?
Yeah.
He Brazil has an army
doesn't need
behind
our help
him.
to hype anyone. They can do it
They
all by
don't.
themselves.
So I would say also, even not Brazil, João just has this super exciting game that I'm sorry, but yeah, he's heating up Carlos's nachos. It's about him as a personality as well.
He's reheating them, but like I think some of the toppings fell out in the microwave. Like I don't think he has it all.
Yeah.
You know?
I think some of the cheese is dry. Like it's not as great as the first time, but
he's using American cheese instead of like Monterey Jack or I don't know, girl, but let's see what happens. Okay.
Let's see what happens.
There were a bunch of other tournaments. Clay season started. We had Bogotá, we had Bucharest, we had Charleston, Houston, Marrakech. My major match point musing for Marrakech is Darderi won. He beat Greek Spore in the final. But the real winner was the DJ. He said, "Oh, is this the only ATP event in Africa? Then y'all are gonna hear Afro beats." Okay. Listen, Darderi, an Italian man, won, and the first song he played was "Your busy body, busy too." I said, "Huh?"
Joanna.
Literally, I said, "Sir." No, literally, I was like, "Why are you playing this song right now?"
They probably didn't even know what was going on.
No, it was very, very fun. I love the settings of Marrakech. I really hope to be able to go one day. I think it's such a cute tournament. As always, you and I are both very big proponents of bringing more ATP, WTA level tennis to the continent. And I think Marrakech does a really, really good job. They have like free seating early on in the tournament. You can come in and out. Darderi winning means that 2 Italians have won back-to-back because Berrettini won last year, although he did not defend his title this year.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been really hard for me on the ATP side because I'm kind of like 250. Who are all these players?
Yeah,
a lot of them are out of the top 50, and that's hard for me on the ATP side.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Greek Sport, I seen you before around.
He's the one that's Potapova was in his box.
I know, but like Marsh Jack, Alexander Muller. Okay, no, I know who that is.
You know who that is.
Okay. I know who Nuno Borges is.
Muller's the OnlyFans boy, right?
Oh my, he's sponsored by, yes.
The thing about you is you're going to see men, you see one name you don't know, you're like, "Oh, I don't know the draw. This is a 250, I can't." You're like, get me out of here.
Intimidated instantly. Like.
You're like,
whereas on the women's side, 250, I'm watching from like...
Tell the truth. It's not intimidated. It's uninterested. Tell the truth.
Yeah, disinterested. Mm-hmm.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
Whereas on the women's side, I'd be like 125. Let me see what they got on YouTube. Like,
no,
checking it out.
Literally.
Let me see what Alicia Park's doing.
Speaking of Alicia Parks, why was she up 4-love in Bogotá and as the 3rd seed and lost in straight sets? How did you do that? Alicia, come to the front. Come to
Park
the front.
Rangers.
Really Alicia, come on.
Come to the front. Step down.
Charleston, you mentioned earlier, Anisimova retired in the semifinal against Kenin.
She had a back injury,
Not before knocking out Navarro in what is technically her home tournament since her father bought it in the previous round. And I'm wondering, why'd you do that? Why would you knock her out?
To go and get injured.
Why would you do that? Anisimova, you come to the front now. Your turn. Come to the front. Why'd you do that?
Explain yourself.
Talk me through it.
What is the reason?
What was that?
But also, she didn't know that was going to happen. I think it was a shock
Fair
to
enough.
her, that injury. It happened when she was on court. You can kind of see the exact moment she got injured. She clutched her back. And then things were never the same after that. She tried to play a bit, and then her service, I think the last service game that she lost, she was just like, nah.
Yeah, this isn't going to work. Yeah. Ben Shelton also did not defend his Houston title and instead played the UTS in Nîmes.
He said he got into the bag.
Honestly, like that was I thought it was a weird decision to do that, but also that stadium looked insane.
He knows he needs a certain level of excitement in order to perform. So
playing tennis in a 2,000-year-old basically Coliseum, it was so gorgeous. Like
it was beautiful.
I'm not too familiar with UTS. Don't prefer to get too familiar with it. I'm not really interested in learning all about it, but the aerial shots of that were insane. And I thought that was
and
very,
I think the
cute.
men had the chance to do this because all they had was 250s the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So they could afford to miss because I think they do have some leniency on the amount of 250s that they have to actually register for. So the UTS thing had a lot of top players.
They did. In Bucharest, Flavio Caboli won. And I just want to take you really quickly through his season so far, okay? Auckland, he lost in the first round. Australian Open, he lost in the first round. Montpellier, he lost in the first round. Rotterdam, he lost in the first round. Acapulco, he lost in the first round. Indian Wells, he lost in the first round. Miami, can you guess what happened?
First round L.
Correct. But in Bucharest, he was the champion. He said, skip the plot, here's the twist. Like, no build up, no signs, just like a trophy out of nowhere.
But that's the thing about tennis. You could wake up and switch it on, and then next thing you lifting a heavy ass trophy. He could barely lift the trophy.
That was so cute. He's so cute. Is
this his first title?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So he didn't know that these trophies be having some weight to them.
Got some oomph to it, yeah.
They got some bass, some booty.
Speaking of trophies, give me your predictions for Monte Carlo and dreams, nightmares, and realities.
Okay. So this is a men's tournament, guys. It's a Masters 1000. The women are not involved. With that being said, do I know what I'm talking about? Barely. But I'm going to try.
That's all we can ask, dear. Give it your best shot.
My dream. I mean, there are just some things that are consistent. One is the nightmare. But for my dream, just based off of watching the excitement of the UTS, I want Casper Ruud to win this. I'm not sure if he has won it before, but he is a clay court, specialist. That's like his thing. I'm feeling for a Casper win. Nightmare is Zverev.
Yep.
The reality is, I'm trying to be real about this reality because sometimes I just be picking it out of anywhere, and Bams has scolded me for not actually thinking about reality in this part of the exercise.
Do you know what's so messed up? The one time where you
actually got it right.
I was like, Jack Draper. And you were right. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay. I'm just like, okay, Carlos Alcaraz.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my reality. The reality is he had a rough patch and now he's over it.
Got it. Okay.
That may also qualify as a dream, depending on who you're speaking to.
Right.
But that's
because
mine.
For me, my dream is that Carlos, despite his recent hiccups, uses this clay season to reset and makes a solid, at least, semifinal run. And I think that we should just be using all of these clay tournaments coming up as prep for defending Roland Garros, okay? He has the game. It's just about putting the pieces together. Let's not try and push for too much.
No showmanship. No.
I think Carlos has traumatized me enough in the past month for me to know that him getting to the semifinals might just be a dream at this point in time. And so that's my dream. And I want to add fine ass feast to that dream. And I want him to go beyond the quarterfinal.
Ooh, very true. Very true.
Because he said he wants to. He said that he doesn't want to just be getting quarterfinals.
And if he says he wants to, he should have it.
So we're manifesting some Monte Carlo magic for the two of them. Nightmare would be Alexander Zverev.
Period.
Finds his form and storms through the draw and closes the points gap on Jannik Sinner. The idea of him even getting remotely close to number one is terrifying for me. So that's going to be a no.
That would be detrimental. And then we need the whole ATP to stand up and come together against that happening.
Cut me a piece of humble pie, because in terms of realities, I honestly don't even know.
The men's game is in a shambles.
No, the ATP is in its random as hell era, and it's all moving, shaking, falling apart, but somehow holding together at the same time. Like, we could have like a breakout finalist like Fonseca, maybe even Feast, or like Menchik withdrew, so not him, but like someone like fully off the radar. I don't know, but it wouldn't even feel surprising because at this point, like, the only real prediction is like there's no predictions. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I felt like. There's no prediction, but that's why Carlos would be my he's a mess, but then the ATP in general is a mess. Yeah. So maybe that is the reality.
I mean, I also feel like Djokovic is really trying to regroup for a strong push, but let's see. I don't know.
Let's see.
I don't know.
I think he didn't know that he could mentally check out, but maybe he has mentally checked out.
Well, he needs to check that again, girl.
I don't know what happened in Miami. He did it on purpose. But yeah, doubles trouble. On the women's side in Miami, you had Mira not making it super far in the singles, but her and her partner made it all the way to the finals and won.
Period.
Shout out to Midas. Is that what they're saying? Diana, Mira, something like that.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
There's like
I call them Putin's princesses. So.
Oh, well,
I don't know. I mean,
There's that.
But have you noticed that Diana has not been wearing her babushka?
Bandana.
Her bandana?
Babushka is crazy. Her bandana has been off. The hairline has been out. She's been looking super cute. They had some cute social media moments after their Miami win.
I love them together, honestly. They're very cute. And they really encourage each other nicely.
They do. And I also like that Mirandriva's coach is like committing her to playing doubles and taking it seriously. I think it's very good for her development. We saw this with Coco, who used to play a lot of doubles, made it to number 1, and then said, that's it for me. But yeah, I like the strategy.
Yeah. Another thing that I found surprising was that in Charleston, Ostapenko was playing with Aaron Routliffe, who normally plays with Dabrowski. I don't know if like there's something, I don't know, maybe Dabrowski just chose not to play Charleston. I don't really know, but they made it to the final. And actually, we should know.
Are they playing right now?
They won.
Ooh.
In straight sets against Dolahai and Krawczyk. Yeah. So, period. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There wasn't much double troubles. One thing I do have to say is that as much as like I want people to watch more doubles, as much as I myself want to watch more doubles, I do find that I find women's doubles more interesting because I'm more into the players themselves. So am starting to understand sort of the push for singles players to play doubles, because although like Routliffe and Dabrowski aren't singles players, I know them as a doubles team, and I'm interested in watching their matches, right? So I get it. Like,
I was about to say,
but for on the men's side of doubles, if it's not a singles player,
I don't know who that is.
If it's not like Bopana or like
the
Rajiv
big ones,
Ram, yeah, like I don't really know them. But I guess it's pretty much the same thing I just said for the women's.
But I would say what I was gonna say is that I feel like on the women's side, you have more top players playing the doubles, and so it's interesting. Whereas on the men's side, they seem to be eating too good on the singles tour, and they don't even need the doubles tour. But that's for them to figure out. I was going to say that, is it tea that like we only watch and only speak about the women's doubles, or is it just like a fact of life?
I have to be honest, like I've watched a couple men's doubles matches. If it's not like Tommy and Fritz or like Fils Humbert.
If there's not a cutie involved, count me out.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. If we're being real.
But I'm going to work on it. I'm going to make more of a concerted effort to watch doubles.
I can't make that commitment.
Well, yes. You knew. You didn't have to tell us that.
I mean, I'm struggling with the ATB as it is. Court Couture.
That's one thing you don't struggle with, my girl. No, I was going to say you don't struggle with Court Couture. You love it.
Yeah. So I have noticed... I mean, one of my favorite kits at Indian Wells, because we were, front and center, seeing the action live, as the fans that we are. Nakashima had like a super cute kit. Loved it. I saw him play against Ben Shelton. But then why is he still playing in that same kit like 3 tournaments later? Fila. I don't understand.
But, Emma Navarro is in the same kit at Charleston as well. So maybe Fila just hasn't done their refresh. Yeah, she's wearing that in Charleston.
I did notice that.
Yeah, so maybe Fila hasn't done their refresh. Everyone else has, though. But
everyone else has twice over.
No.
Come on.
The Nike players are still wearing the same thing. I think Nike has just brought out new colorways. But actually, the colorways.
But at least you're not like washing it every other day to put it on for the next 3 tournaments.
First of all, they're not doing that. They get fresh ones every time. You do this all. This. I
don't know that to be true. Because if they have so many to get fresh kits, why didn't send a different colorway?
That's fair. But yeah,
because they don't even go with the other courts.
Maybe they're waiting for the European clay to give out the new kits. I don't know. Let's see. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Also, a little comment I have is that is like US clay like becoming a thing?
I think it's always been a thing, but I think that like it's so different from the European clay that I think a lot of people didn't find it a worthwhile warm up. But like someone like Coco like this, like she should actually play Charleston because she actually doesn't do that well in Stuttgart.
That is true.
In my humble opinion.
In your humble opinion. I would agree with that. That I think she down in Florida when she should be up in Charleston.
Yeah. I loved Tommy Paul's all lilac, purplish, grayish fit in Houston. I
He
didn't love
looks
his
so good.
results, but he looked fantastic.
And I think our fellow podcaster Tune Into Tennis like spoke to him live and direct about his kit, and I was just like drooling through the whole thing. It was
Yes,
cute.
his eyes are insane. I have been asking Miles to tell Tommy Paul that I love him, and he continues to forget. But I would forget too, looking at that face. To be honest, like
Not Miles trying to be a professional.
no, literally. But back to Court Couture. Naomi Osaka has said that she's treating every Grand Slam like the Met Gala. And honestly, I believe her because she's always brought something different to the court. Whether it was like, you remember that orange and black pleated dress from the 2019 US Open? That's my favorite look of her. I think it was like a Sakai collab. Or even like the Harajuku inspired look from like 2024 with the giant
big bow.
Yeah, like.
That was very cute.
I wish she had stayed in the tournament longer so we saw it more, but that's neither here nor there. I'm really anticipating what's next. Let's talk about the Grand Slams. Coco is officially leaving Federer's Team 8 and moving to WME, and she's launching her own thing, Coco Golf Enterprises. I think this is a major power move, honestly. WME and IMG also rep Serena, Alcaraz, Swiatek, Raducanu. So she's like stepping into that top tier global marketing lane.
Yeah, and it's also the lane where like you kind of take control of your career because you now have a stake in your management company. You know what I mean? That's what this means. For sure. And I think it also signals her in her entrepreneurial bag, because it means that she can roll out things with the same team that's managing her. She can build a team that she trusts and launch other businesses, you know, within the realm of tennis, sports, entertainment, what have you. We've seen Naomi do this really well with Hana Kuma. And there are quite a few other players as well on the entrepreneurial tip. One of them who I think is, I would say, hinting at, you know, making a full switch is Sloane. The way she talks about her entrepreneurial ventures lately has been signaling that she's really focused and locked in on them. And I'm not sure what's going to happen after she gets over this injury.
You know...
Don't say it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Grigor and Lacoste.
They made him a custom Bulgarian bag. It was clean, color blocking, custom logo. It was like national pride without like doing too much. I love when players rep their roots in style and not just like a flag, you know? It was very cute. Lacoste ate that up.
They did that one thing.
They ate that one thing.
Jack Draper is now the face of Burberry as the UK. Well, do they call him the UK number one or the British number one? British number one.
The thing about it is like, it makes a lot of sense. He has like that very clean, posh boy aesthetic. And, you know, it's very tea at Wimbledon. I think there's a lot of potential there. I wonder if he's going to do like a Burberry bag the way Sinner has the Gucci bag.
I wonder what a Burberry sponsorship is looking like in size in comparison to like, you know, Yannick and Gucci, like obviously like European fashion houses.
Carlos and Louis Vuitton. He was actually just on the Louis Vuitton podcast. It was a very cute interview. He's so sweet.
Yeah.
Because you remember when we were in France for Roland Garros last year, the billboards for Yannick, the Gucci billboards for Yannick.
Crazy.
I don't know how much they spent on that, but it must have been, they were huge and they were everywhere.
He was everywhere. And he made sense with the brand. Like, he didn't necessarily look like, oh, that's a tennis player promoting a brand. He looked like a model, I would say. He did, low-key. One thing I will say while we talk about brand opportunities, Daria Saville, Australian player, I think I might have just made that up, but Daria Saville recently spoke up about the lack of brand opportunities for female tennis players, especially with the rise of like the tennis core trend and fashion and media. Mm-hmm. She said, is it more aspirational? Aspirational. Is it more aspirational to be a wag than a female athlete? Pointing out how often brands feature influencers or partners of male players rather than the women who are actually competing on tour. I'm sorry, but I have to say the answer is yes. Oh. It is. Like, what are we talking about?
Oh.
Because they're not necessarily just tennis influencers, they're lifestyle influencers rooted in tennis, but they have range.
Her and Eva Lise are like calling for more visibility and brand support across the WTA, not just for the top stars, but for a broader range of like all the athletes.
I don't know.
I will
tennis,
say, as tennis continues to influence fashion and culture, I think it's a conversation worth having. I just don't know if we have to be calling out the wags. Like, they're just vibing. You know what I mean? Like, they're chilling.
They're doing their thing. And also, I do think that the WTA is in there we're here for our players era. So hopefully things like that will be in the works anyway. And people like Daria will be happy about it.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit more about the players and step into the players box. The cutest thing, and
I know what you're going to say.
I don't want to make like a corny, like, tennis is all about love joke. Gael Monfils and Alina Svitolina. Gael did and you know, I love, and I love men who are not too cool to love their partners out loud.
Like, and share. Yeah.
Monfils said if it wasn't for Alina Svitolina, he would have retired years ago. Like, no question. After COVID, like, he was still ranked in the top 10, but he still felt completely disconnected from the sport. He said there was no joy, no crowds, just vibes and burnout. And he told Alina that he was ready to quit, but she was like, no. She helped him set a new goal. I think just something to like look forward to. And they landed on the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Aww.
At that time, he was ranked around 400. He was like fresh off injury. With a new baby, and everyone like around him basically thought it was over. But she said, if I can come back after giving birth, you can too. And honestly, period.
That's on period, because absolutely.
As we all know, he's still competing. And he said, and I quote, "My wife saved me. She reignited the fire in me. Sometimes it's bright, sometimes it's a flicker, but she brought it back."
And that's what a good woman will do.
Period.
Man, take notes. In terms of the rankings on the women's side, Caroline Garcia, who's been like a staple in like, I would say the top 20 the past few years, is now, I would say the top 30, but now she's out of the top 100
for the first time since like 2013 or something.
It's crazy. Is it because she's doing too much podcasting? Maybe. I don't know. Let's look at that. What do you think?
I'm going to say this. I'm going to be honest. I never really saw her as a play. Like, when I used to see her ranking, I'd be like, I mean, to be fair, she won the WTA finals in 2022.
I don't know how it happened, but it did, apparently.
But, like, I never really saw her as, like, this prolific tennis player. Like, I thought she was cool, but, like, I never really saw it for her like that.
To me, she would always just, like, randomly win something and then, like, maintain, like, a top 20 ranking.
She recently gave an interview, I think after she won her first match at Indian Wells. She said tennis is just tennis in a post-match interview, like talking about how she's finding off-court happiness and stuff. And not to be shady, but like players usually start saying that when the losses are piling up or they're not doing well or whatever. She took a break last year, like I think after Guadalajara, to try and like get back to herself. And while that's like always good or whatever, I don't know, like she hasn't really kept up with the game and since her return. I
think having a life outside of tennis and doing things outside of the court is fair.
No, it's good
and
for sure.
Maybe
but
like she has lost that drive on the court.
Sometimes I just feel it's a cop out.
Maybe it's I'm moving on. Maybe she's finding joy in other things. Hopefully it comes back because, as you said, it's no small feat to be at the top of the sport for so many years. Like clearly she has something. But I don't think she's a player who's really had enough breakthroughs that it like has felt like worth it for her. I can see that being the case where it's like I'm always so close to the top but never really there. And, you know, I've been doing that for 12 years now. What's the point? Another
player that is falling is Maria Sakkari. And Christian's Court, a tennis content creator, tweeted something that wasn't even that wild in my opinion. He said, Sakkari will fall outside of the top 80 with this loss. Hard to imagine her returning to the top 10, to be honest.
Hard to imagine her getting back into the top 10. Did you have to add that in? What's your imagination got to do with it?
She decided she had time that day and she responded. She said, am I the first or the last that's coming back from an injury and is dropping points? Let's unpack that. First of all, what injury? I didn't know she was injured. Also, were you winning before that injury? Why are you on Twitter reading tweets instead of prepping for your next match or next tournament? And finally, you weren't too injured to pull up to Trump's inaugural ball, though.
You had heels on.
No one said you couldn't come back. all they said is you're not playing like a top 10 player, which is true.
Very true. I mean, anytime I see Sakkari, I'm like, what is about to happen here?
Don't be more angry at the algorithm than the scoreboard, okay? Don't tweet through it. Train through it. All right? That's all I have to say about that.
I want to throw in, how come Alizé Cornet, am I saying that correct?
Alizé Cornet?
Yeah. She did a whole retirement thing last year. I believe Venus was even involved.
Correct.
She took one step into the real world as a regular citizen.
She said, actually,
and came straight back to the WTA.
It gives very much, tennis is hard, but 9 to 5s are harder. Okay.
She said, wait, y'all have maternity leave now? I'm back in there.
But speaking of oldies but goodies, Safin is back. Not back to play. Obviously, he's joining Rublev's team for the clay season, starting in Monte Carlo.
That's a fiery combination.
Vicente is still the main coach, but he's stepping in with the bit of backup. And listen, if you know anything about him, you know he's not just a former slam champion. He is a walking tennis fever dream. Okay, this is the same guy who showed up to the Hopman Cup with like a black eye from a bar fight. He got fined. I think he's the first and only player to be fined for lack of effort at a Grand Slam. He celebrated a point at Roland Garros by dropping his shorts on court.
Just a big troublemaker.
He partied the night before his Australian Open final and like was too hungover to play. He's also fine as hell. He was fine as hell.
He's very cute.
He's
like, I'm not gonna lie. Right? Ooh, he's one of them white boys who just a little bit naughty.
No, he's attractive. But the idea of Rublev, who is already emotionally teetering at pretty much all times, getting clay court wisdom from it's like, I'm obsessed. Like, it could be brilliant or a complete disaster, but either way,
it could be super toxic, but like, maybe they'll just click, like understand each other.
Oh my God, did you see the players talking about like the supplements and how like basically they're becoming like a pretty, like they all use supplements, right? The allowed ones. Yeah. But it's becoming like a real anxiety point. I think Medvedev, Sabalenka, and Jabeur all like spoke about it. They were saying how they rely on them for recovery, but the fear of contamination is real because of like the recent doping cases. Obviously like Iga with the, what was it, melatonin that was contaminated, and then, you know, Yannick Sinner with the cloche de ball. So nobody wants to be the next headline for something they didn't even need to take.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're playing at such a high level.
No, Medvedev said he would die without his supplements.
That is a very Medvedev thing to say.
But like you said, they're expected to compete at the highest level, push their bodies to the edge. But
it's
like,
actually not humanly possible without supplements. He's not wrong. And
like one wrong capsule could cause a suspension. Like,
because the new tests are so accurate, like to like 0.00001 nano whatever's, which is basically an atom.
But somebody who might need a supplement or two is your favorite player, Emma Raducanu. She is taking a break
again. She literally just got started and like just had a decent run, and then she's back to training. I don't know.
She said and that's my thing. She's doing a training block to reevaluate after her Miami Open quarterfinal run. She lost to Pegula in 3 sets. But listen, I mean, I get it. Training blocks are important, but like at some point you have to ask, a break from what exactly? Like, she's barely played this year. What is she resetting from?
If you don't get on tour.
Miami was one of her best runs in a while. Like, this is the exact moment that you're supposed to be building momentum, not
and like
disappearing.
Taking that with you to the next tournament. She looks good in Miami. I'm not gonna lie, I was impressed.
Yeah, and she's been on for a few weeks, and I think has only had like 1 week away from tournament. But babes, like, that's tennis. Like, every time you get going, break, block, reassess, repeat. Like, you're not gonna find form in a training block. You're gonna have to get outside and play. Like, stay outside and play, not just get outside and play. Stay outside
and right now, I don't know, maybe clay is not her focus this year, but I would think she'd be warming up for the big upcoming clay tournaments where she can grab some points.
I saw they said something about her coming back before French Open, so let's see. Jasmine Paolini split with her longtime coach. I think they've been together for like 10-ish years. I don't think she's announced the replacement coach just yet, but she wrote a very heartfelt thanks to him for all that they've been through. As you know, as we all know.
I mean, they came up together.
Olympic gold in doubles. Grand Slam finalist in Wimbledon and
Roland Garros.
Roland Garros. Like she's really, I mean, she blossomed in the past.
Broke into the top 10.
Yeah. She really thanked him profusely. She said it seemed like a very amicable split. Maybe she just wants to take it to the next level. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. I think now would be the time for her to lock in.
For sure.
Kasakina is now Australian.
For sure. But she won't be able to play for them in the Billie Jean King Cup.
Why? Is it too soon? Or you have to have been...
she's already represented Russia, and under ITF rules, it's like a one-time deal. Yeah. They can make exceptions, and her case is still open, but I wouldn't count on it, to be honest.
I would hope really they would, because this is like, she didn't have a choice. This is like a human rights kind of thing,
I mean, let's see. I hope so. Let's talk about some Networthy news. I think that this is maybe the networthiest news of all. I love initiatives like this. The WTA Foundation, in partnership with Hologic, who is one of their title sponsors, I believe. Is their title sponsor, not one of. There's only one. But they've launched the Acing Cancer campaign, where a donation is made for every ace hit at a WTA 1000 and 500 events throughout the year of 2025. The funds are going directly towards cancer research and nonprofits focused on cancers that affect women specifically. Leading so far, I think, is Linda Noskova, who has
which I did not
aces.
expect. I was about to say. And in front of the crowd is Linda Noskova. Who would have thought? Yeah. I would have thought it would be someone who's been making it into semifinals and finals.
Babes, I didn't know she had to serve on her like that, but apparently she does. I think it's a really small but meaningful way that the tour is trying to connect performance with purpose, honestly. And I like that it's towards cancer research and nonprofits that specifically are for women. I think that's also very important.
It's also a way for the stats to make sense and make impact.
For sure. So I want to put my hands up, and if I were to tell any of our listeners that I went back and read through the PTPA lawsuit to find more understanding, I would be lying. To be honest, I just couldn't be bothered. I thought about it. I opened it up several times, and I was just like, you know what? No, this isn't actually worth my time.
Because it's not going anywhere anyway. Let's be honest. But I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's been a development, not specifically with the PTPA lawsuit, which definitely lit the match. But I think there's a letter that came out.
A more sensible letter.
That's the smoke. And if you remember, the Grand Slams were not listed as, were not named as plaintiffs or defendants. I don't know which one it is. In the PTPA lawsuit. But this letter was signed by the top 20 players and sent to all 4 Grand Slams, demanding a serious increase in prize money. They're arguing that basically their current cut is entirely too small. And to be fair, they're not wrong, because Roland Garros made 338 million euros last year.
But they have the smallest purse in all of the Grand Slams.
The prize money was 53.5 million euros. And that's just 16% of the revenue. But as I mentioned, the letter is totally separate from the PTPA lawsuit. And in fact, most of the players who signed the letter were not part of the lawsuit at all. But the timing is interesting. According to the AP, the letter is dated March 21st, just 3 days after the PTPA lawsuit dropped. But that being said, obviously, a letter like this doesn't come together overnight. It's likely that it took a few days back and forth, agents, managers, you know what I mean? Which means that it was probably in motion before. But it's just timed pressure, to be honest.
Yeah. I think all pressure in a certain direction is good, but the letter is definitely more sensible than the lawsuit. I think they're asking for specific things, and I think they're asking knowing that the Grand Slams actually could increase.
They have the money to do it.
Pool. Yeah, exactly. So it seems like a very sensible ask. I think very strongly led by Victoria Azarenka, who's, an OG. So
she's still on the Players Council, right?
Yeah,
for the WTA.
She is.
Yeah.
So she has the time to think about all these things. She's been on tour for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And she kind of sees where she wants. I think she can see where she wants tennis to go more clearly than a newer player who, is just getting to know all the rules and how it all works. When you're mature, you can see where the gaps are.
Yeah, you have
and I've heard
a better view.
A better view, and I've heard that it's not just for like the top players, like, you know, semifinalists and finalists to get an increase, but it's really about the players playing qualifiers, playing first round, second round, who really depend on this as a big check to keep their tennis career going. So we're talking players outside of the top 50 who look to the Grand Slams to get a big check and really sustain their players, be able to hire their teams.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where they want to see the increases as well.
I always thought it was strange that the PTPA lawsuit didn't name the Grand Slams, because I feel like the smaller tournaments may not have as much give, but the 4 Grand Slams definitely do.
They definitely do. They're making bank. They can share.
Also, the way that the PTPA is operating in general is very strange, because reporters asked in Charleston like 5 pretty top WTA players if they'd had any contact from the WTA. I think they asked, from the PTPA. I think they asked Anisimova, Bencic, Keys, Pagula, and Zhang, and they all said no.
They said, I don't know her.
Like, they hadn't reached out to them, but they had said that all the top, like, I feel like the PTPA, the way they're moving is I get it. I understand some of the merit of where they're coming from, but I think the approach was totally wrong. Either way, the girls and the guys are fighting for the bag. They're just not necessarily in the same group chat, to be honest. Like, I don't know. Hopefully someone comes out victorious, and they reach a conclusion that works for everyone. But tennis is spreading. TNT Sports in the United States got the rights to
broadcast the French Open.
Correct. And they are trying to make a splash with it. They've hired Andre Agassi as a studio commentator. And Agassi has low-key spent the last years acting like the pickleball commissioner of America. But anyway, he's now back to real tennis. It is a $650 million rights deal that starts in 2025. Not for Agassi, obviously. For TNT. Like, that's how much TNT paid. Yeah. And I mean, I hope he doesn't do that back in my day thing that Navratilova has been doing.
No. They should stop that immediately.
And I'm also not tuning in for any sort of pickleball takes. So he needs to know what's up.
On the other end of things, the ITF, International Tennis Federation, which owns the Davis Cup, have pulled out, well, they're fired Cosmos, which is the people who had a deal to broadcast and elevate the Davis Cup. And apparently they weren't elevating it. This is a company founded by Gerard Piqué.
Yeah. They had a $3 billion 25-year deal with the ITF. They are the ones that changed the format. People were really mad. Tradition went out the window. And like, I think some people are like, it feels like the World Cup is stuffed into a weekend, whatever.
Yeah.
But that deal started in 2018. It was supposed to be a 25-year deal. It was terminated in year 5. I think Cosmos felt like it was terminated out of nowhere. They sued in like the sport court of arbitration, I think, for basically breach of contract damages. Here's my thing. We're still left with a team competition that feels very forced. Like, the Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup happen way too often, in my opinion. I think I've said this before. Like, once a year is very exhausting.
Anytime I turn around, is a Davis Cup happening.
And it's so hard to follow. And it's just like, it should be like every 2 years.
At random. Like,
let it breathe. Build anticipation.
This one can't play this tournament because they are playing Davis Cup for country. I don't get it.
Like, let it breathe. Let it breathe. Every 2 years would be fine. Every 3 years would be fine. I think 4 years would be a stretch just because of like...
That's like now like Olympic,
tennis players get injured and stuff. I think every 2 years would be perfectly acceptable. And I think it would allow people to plan for it, to, you know, build up momentum. I just, and
that's like how other global leagues do. Like FIFA has, you know, the World Cup every 4 years. But then in between, they'll have their smaller... Euros, Copa, this one,
African Cup of Nations, everything,
which are also like leading up to Olympics. But maybe tennis isn't built like that.
I also think they need to combine the Billie Jean King Cup and the Davis Cup. That's personally my feelings. Make it more interesting. But anyway, at the end of the day, no one's gonna do that because they want as much money as possible for ticket sales, sponsorships, and So
everybody loses to capitalism.
End stage capitalism, or late stage, end stage.
Late stage, but end stage too.
Low key. Speaking of the Davis Cup, you remember last year, my favorite of the big three, retired at Davis Cup. It was a very rough retirement ceremony, in my opinion. His people weren't there. It was very random, hodgepodge. Tennis Channel had some guy speaking over him the whole time, didn't have a translator in this. It was really, really bad. But mark your calendars. April 17th is when we'll get the official word from Roland Garros on their plans this year. And they're going to cover all things Roland Garros 2025. But a big highlight is probably going to be their tribute to Nadal.
Love that.
Given his unparalleled 14 titles there, it's only fitting that they're going to do something special. They didn't do it last year because remember after the Barcelona one, he was like, stop it. Stop it.
He said, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm in. I don't know if I'm out. Which I think he needed.
It's not confirmed yet, but it's Nadal. It's Roland Garros. They should do something to honor his legacy on the pre-show. They gave him the goddamn Olympic torch when he's not French. So I think Roland Garros could do a little something.
I said, guys, step aside. I know this is a country thing, but who's been running this shit?
Remember last episode I spoke to you about Danielle Collins and Crash?
Crash Collins.
Yeah, he survived, so she's officially adopted him. He didn't bring her luck in Miami or in Charleston, so she has fallen in the rankings, but that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there.
He's out of the hospital. He's breathing normally. He's healing well. She's really happy that she was able to step in. She said that him and Quincy are getting along really well. It's a beautiful story. And I think it's so funny with Collins because her character on court is so intense and so like FU energy, but off court, she seems to be a very kind-hearted person.
Very
it's really
sweet
lovely
girl.
to see. Yeah, it's really, really lovely to see.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what's next on tour. We have one of our favorite tournaments on the women's side, which is the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart, Germany.
You get a car. You get a car.
Where they put the most beautiful Porsches behind the players. I don't know how this stage is going to be this year, but they always display the cars and it looks very luxe. Even though it is just a 500 level tournament, it's like a very luxe vibe.
And I love the production on that tournament. It's really, really good.
It's like clay, but indoors, which is a vibe.
That last year is when Marta brought out that super cute dress, the red, white, and blue one. Do you remember?
And she did really well. She made it all the way to the final. She played Rybakina, and Rybakina took it in the end. Who knows what's going to happen this year because Rybakina is in a different place, but she has some points to defend.
She's not playing. She's not in the.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, she's not playing.
That says it all.
Then we have the 250 in France. I think Cornet is making her return there. I think she got a wild card to play there.
Good for her.
Yeah, I think that's where she's returning.
She said, I need a base salary.
So then on the ATP side, we have one of them tournaments that Ace loves. It's a Rolex Masters 1000 in Monte Carlo. Hurkacz and Fritz are out. Hurkacz actually has missed now back-to-back Masters 1000s due to injury. I'm actually not sure what the injury is. I hope that they both make it back soon. At least Fritz. I don't really see it too much for Hurkacz, but I hope Fritz makes it back soon. I've actually grown to like seeing him play.
This supports my whole Casper Ruud prediction, but yeah, I see it falling into place.
After that, we have a 500 in Barcelona, where I think Carlos is playing for the first time in a long time. Or I don't think he played last year. And then there's the BMW Open in Munich, which is an ATP 500 as well. And then that'll be it.
Yeah, the men have a very packed month. There's a lot of points to be earned on the men's tour.
Correct. Hopefully some of them can do that. Definitely not Zverev though.
I don't understand how the points are working and why he's still up there. It doesn't make sense to me. But hopefully someone will overtake him soon. And before we know it, Yannick will be back.
And then he's gonna have to drop.
Yeah.
Period. Okay. Well, I think that's Game Set Chat. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Serving Up the Teapot and Twitter and Blue Sky at Two Gals One Serve. We are trying to engage with you guys more online. It's been very, very fun as we continue to build community. You guys have been great. We love it. But yeah, with that, it's Game Set Chat. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Peace out, guys.
Bye.